today on Hobby Journeys we will be doing the announcement of new edition of 40k, and we will be we're showing you how to highlight and shade our minis.
Hello, welcome to Hobby Journeys. So this week we will be
looking at the latest announcements, including a new edition of 40k.
We've got a hobby guide to highlighting and shading your minis.
We'll be flashing back to the 90s.
We'll be looking at our hobbying from this month.
We'll be talking about another game from Games Workshop, Blood Bowl. My childhood game.
Releases! Latest releases.
You need to go to a psychiatric ward.
Special effects, you know. It's all good. Anyway, so this has been a big month in the world of Games Workshop. They have revealed at Adepticon, which was at the end of March. We've got a new edition of 40,000. Yeah, so we've got 10th edition 10. On its way. Yeah, so
Tyranids are back to the screens.
Oh. So we've got the Terminators, which
and Big Guy ripped Terminator in half. That proves Chunker better.
We think that was the Carnifex who ripped him in half.
Chunker's still better.
Yeah, so
but maybe a bit of Chunker and them together will be a bit overpowered.
Yeah, so we've already done a video where we were looking at the new reveals, so we're going to go straight into looking at some of the other stuff that was released at Adepticon, and they've been dripping through, Games Workshop have been dripping through some new releases from the box. I think at the end of this week, we're coming up towards, or maybe next week, we're coming up to Warhammer Fest, which is a big event in Manchester. I think that's when we're going to be seeing the reveals of what's going to be in the big box that's going to come with the game. So there's going to be a load of stuff in that, and I'm sure we'll do a video to coincide with that. But what we have had a few bits and pieces drip through since that we need to have a look at. A new Primarch release, the Lion. Yeah, so we're going to have a look at that as well.
So is that when was that he the only Primarch who hadn't been undiscovered yet?
Well, after the Horus Heresy, quite a few of them died. Some of them disappeared off.
But the started ones, the ones who start off, the ones who don't die or anything, just before the Horus Heresy and everything, when it was peaceful, how many were there?
There were 20, 2 of whom we don't know anything about.
Maybe in number 11 we might get a 19.
We might do. Well, there's a rumour that, ones who could come back, Layman Russ could come back. He went on a epic voyage to go into the Eye of Terror and disappeared.
Like his own little crusade.
Yeah, he had his own little crusade into the Eye of Terror.
He does look like a man who would go on a crusade.
I think someone threw a bone into the Eye of Terror and he just chased off after it. Because he's a space wolf. Yeah, they're like dogs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Down, Layman. Stop humping my leg.
So what about those 2 Primarchs? Who would they command?
Well, they wouldn't, because their legions were purged. We don't know what happened to them or why they got purged or what the problem was, but there was some reason that is meant to be mysterious. Games Workshop specifically keep it mysterious, but there is...
I have my own thing. So Games Workshop does keep it mysterious, but they keep the whole chapter mysterious. We don't know anything about the chapter. There's like a whole 2 chapters and 2 Primarchs and 2 massive armies that we don't know of, and they're on some planet lost. Maybe they're based off a cat, and they have, I don't know, as an example, probably not, but maybe a lion, maybe a tiger then, they're based off a tiger, and they heard a bell, maybe they chased after it and they got lost. Maybe that's for one of them, and one maybe on the, maybe like a demon called for them, and then they're a demon. They're demons. They've been turned to chaos. So, for example, they were based off a tiger. They chased something that a tiger would like you said with Layman Russ.
Yeah, but that's because he's like a dog.
Yeah, but a cat likes stuff. A cat might like.
So, do you think someone got a laser pointer, pointed at a wall, and they were going meow,
Maybe.
And then
Maybe.
and then
they got trapped in the cave. Maybe. And so
shall we look at the latest releases?
Yeah.
So at Adepticon we had some other things apart from the new edition released that we didn't look at in the last video. First up we have Lionel Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels. What are you thinking of this fella?
He's alright.
He's alright. He's going to be a big model. I mean, you've got to remember this base is going to be like about that big. He's going to be very big.
He looks tiny in the picture.
So yeah, this is the scale of him. So that's a normal Space Marine. And that's going to be him. So he's about,
That's Gilliman.
That's Gilliman. So he's about the same size as Gilliman. Same scale as Gilliman. But yeah, so what are we thinking?
Yeah, he's decent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a variety of different helmets for him. You like the winged one. The one with the wings. Yeah, not the hooded helmet. No. I quite like the hooded helmet, to be honest, myself. But yeah, you see,
it's alright.
Yeah. So what are you giving him as a score out of 10? For the Lion, the Primarch returning.
8.2.
8.2. Well, it's a decent score.
Wait,
it's a decent score.
8.21.
8.2 what? That's, well, fair enough.
8.213.
If that's what we're going for, he's got his own book as well, so that's coming out. So we've also got Adepticon have revealed some new Serephon models. So you've quite liked some of these previously. So what we've got is
Dinosaurs!
we have dinosaurs riding on dinosaurs. But these are big fellas riding on dinosaurs. What are we thinking about these?
Dinosaur.
You like these?
Dinosaur.
Yeah? You quite like these? I mean, these are your favourite Age of Sigmar, I think it's fair to say.
Dinosaur.
You like this fella? He's a big lad, isn't he? He's a big lad. Yeah. It's fair to say, I think Serephon are about your favourites, are they? You like this guy?
Dinosaur.
I like this guy. This guy's quite big, I think. That's quite a big model.
I like the dagger more than the person.
Yeah. Very good. So you like these guys? What are you thinking? We've got some that walk as well.
Oh, those are a 6. The dinosaur's riding a dinosaur. 10.2.
Well, you can't go over 10, but that's fair enough.
9.99.
So which is your favourite of the dinosaurs riding dinosaurs?
Go along.
Let me just go along. There is this guy, remember? So let's have a look at these first.
Him.
You like him? Not this guy?
No.
No. How about this guy?
He's cool, but no.
We had new Termagants announced. These are the Tyranid models that will be coming with the new edition that we didn't look at in the last video. So what do you think of the new Termagants?
They're alright.
They're alright?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're alright. What score are you giving for the Termagants?
I'll give them an 8.5.
An 8.5. Now, will it influence your decision if I tell you how these guns work?
I think I know how they work.
How do you think they work?
So, do they shoot a little, monster out of it? Which they shred their skin or, exoskeleton off to make them angry. And when it shoots, when it hits... when it hits them, it shreds into their armour and skin because they're so angry.
Yeah, pretty much. So, is that going to influence you at all in your score of the Termagants?
It ups it to an 8.7.
We're going to go 8.7 for the Termagants. Fair enough. So then we also had... So this has been This has been announced since the Adepticon releases. This is a new Space Marine Lieutenant who's coming with
Is that some sort of special library? Oh, it's special because it's personally killing a Terminator.
Yeah, I think this might be in the box. If you look, he's strapped some armour from a Tyranid onto his own armour. Field repairs, I think.
Oh, that's decent.
You like it? Yeah, he's also got this combi weapon, which is a bolter and a flamer.
I would change is make it so he had his full helmet on.
Oh, you prefer him with a full helmet?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure you could always stick whatever helmet. I mean, I've got a bag this big of helmets, so that's that could definitely be achieved.
I'm gonna give him.
I think it's this guy from the video.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 9.3.
9.3. Oh, it's a big score. It's a big score. So we've also had some more announcements, which I think will be in the box again. This is some more Tyranid models. The Von Ryan's Leaper. So these guys ambush predators.
Those are the guys you said that they were flying. I said no, that they're jumping on.
Yeah, I think these are the guys who were leaping out. Hence leaping, you know.
You thought they were they're flying now. I know they're jumping.
These are quite cool, aren't they? These are a bit bigger, I think. This is.
They get a decent score.
What are we thinking?
6.9.
6.9, not even as high as the Termagants. A while back, Games Workshop released a new game system, but old game system, which is the old world. So this is basically a reissuing of the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle that existed when I was a kid. I used to play that a lot. I played that a lot more than 40k actually. I had a big Empire army back in the day. But they're going to be re-releasing it with a whole new range. So these are some of the models from it. Yeah, so this is Britonia, who a lot of these are knights. So you have a lot of horses.
They're wearing armour.
Yeah, they do. Well, you don't get hurt, do you?
No, but the horses with the Mongol/Russian on, they had no armour on.
Oh, you put them without the armour. Yeah. Well, here we are. So this is just a bit of a so these are some of the infantry. The big thing you'll notice is they have square bases, and then you form them into ranks. So you have them sort of like very close together and in a sort of formation.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I quite like that.
They should have done that with these.
Yeah, you think?
The thing is, the models are quite big.
Like the flying ones. What do you think of these flying
They're
ones?
alright because they have
Pegasus
no armor.
riders, I think. Yeah, I think they're quite cool actually. I could get quite into these Britonia models. I'm not sure if these are the old models or not though, to be honest. I think they might be the old models. What are you thinking of the old world Britonia then? We've got a score for it.
4.9.
4. Well, there we go. Last, possibly least, you haven't scored it yet, but you know, we shall see. We've got a new Horus Heresy Space Marine Librarian.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. The colours are absolutely terrible.
You know what?
But the model is spectacular.
You like the model? Well, you don't have to paint them in those colours. That's the thing. I mean, that's how they paint. They painted them as Imperial Fist, I think he is.
But the blue doesn't go with the yellow, though.
You don't like the blue? Oh, fair enough. You know, that's the thing. It's all good. But yeah, you can have a headless one. So that's without a head. What do you think? What are we thinking?
Let's say without the colours. I think like if it had different colours, I'm gonna rate that an 8.6.
You're in 8.6 for the Space Marine Librarian. So it looks like the winner is the Serephon. This guy in particular with his 10.2 score. Yeah.
Breaking physics.
You do seem to like these Serephon. You thinking of getting some? You want to get some?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, that's fine.
It's a big dragon. Big dinosaur.
So in the last video, we were showing you how to base coat your miniatures. So in our ongoing series of hobby guides, yeah.
You really need a psychiatric ward, Dad. A personal psychiatric ward called Andrew's Ward.
Yeah, maybe so. So we've already showed you how to assemble your miniatures, how to base paint them. So what we're going to be doing is giving a overview on how you're going to be highlighting and shading them. So when you paint your base coats on, you're going to just paint those, not just the standard colours of each part of the miniature. So, you know, if you painted a bit of red armour, it's going to be red. One of the ways we can achieve giving them a sense of 3D-ness to them, almost, is by adding highlights and shading to them.
But Dad, they are 3D.
They are 3D, you're right, but because the painting we do on them is essentially two-dimensional when we base coat them, because you're just painting a flat colour onto each surface, basically. But the way you want to achieve highlights to the shading is by where you want a shadow, you're going to paint a slightly different shade of that colour in a darker colour, and for the highlights, you're going to paint a slightly lighter colour. If you look at this chap here, you can see.
In Dad's personal colours.
Yeah. So you can see what I've done here is on the armour, you can just see a little bit of a different colour on the armour. Now that's a bit more advanced. That's achieved by doing glazing of colour over the miniature. But a nice easy way to give a bit of shading around it is what we call panel lining or black lining or so on. So you can see on here, around the edges of the armour and in the little gaps we've got darker colour painted into those. That just gives a bit of depth and makes it look like it's got a shadow in the joints. There's a number of different paints you can use to do these sort of things. So Citadel has a range of layer paints. So the layer paints are a little bit more opaque, i.e. see-through, compared to their base paints, which is where you're giving your solid colour. So the layer paints, what you would do is just paint a bit of that in there, and because it's a little bit opaque, you're going to be able to see some of that original colour through it. You've also got shades. So the shades are a very, very thin paint. We used to call them inks back in the day. And you can actually paint them all over a surface. And because it's very runny, they're quite thin, they're going to run into the gaps. The only problem with that is that they're going to sort of colour the whole thing. But it is a way you could do it so that, when you're just getting started, for instance with this guy, we could just paint a sort of light brown shade all over the miniature, and it would just run into the gaps and give us a bit of shading. That is a possibility. But what we've done here is just essentially just painted into the gaps in the armour a line of a thin dark colour. So the other thing we can do is the highlights. So again, you can paint that onto the surface of the miniature. A typical way of painting armour plates or edges would be, for instance, with this guy, with this Sentinel, again you can see where I've done the shading, but along the edges of the armour you can just see where I've painted an edge highlight on it. So you can just see that lighter colour I've painted on the edges of each of the panels. It makes it stand out, it makes it look like there's light shining off it. We're going to use a normal paint.
It's called Nagaroth Night Medium.
It's Nagaroth Night base paint. But what we've done is mix this with a bit of medium to thin it down, so it makes a nice wash or shade style colour. And what we do is we're just going to paint that into the armour panel. So Matthew is working on this Outrider here, aren't you? So you're going to make a start with that then. And I'll put a bit on Shrike. So just paint it into any of the gaps between the armour panels. So what you want to do, because what it'll do is, if you just touch it against the recess, because it's quite runny, it's just going to run into that. So all you have to do is just give it a little touch. You see what I'm doing? Just touch it and it'll run off the brush straight into that recess. You don't even have to paint it on. Just drop it in there. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Give that a go. It's just dropping it into that recess. So all I've done with this chap is painted into the panels and then onto the edges of each armour panel, and you just see it makes it look like he stands out. Looks look a little bit more three-dimensional, and just makes it. I think it works quite well. This is the typical effect that the Games Workshop painters use, which is a little bit stereotypical, and there are many more ways of achieving this. But as a starting point, if you're just starting in the hobby, just doing it this way is quite effective and a good place to start, and then you can learn other techniques as you go along. Flashback to the 90s.
He needs a psychiatric doctor. He needs a psychiatric doctor. Man needs a psychiatric doctor.
So this issue of White Dwarf, it seems like quite an apt issue to look at. Reason being for that is that in this issue we had the first ever range release of the Tyranids. So this was issue 145 of White Dwarf from January 1992, and we had the first Tyranid army release. You can see here we've got a full-on army going on. Although when I say full-on army, essentially what they released was Tyranid Warriors. So we had these Tyranid Warriors, big fellas with bone swords, or with, I can't remember what their guns are called, whatever their guns are called. Oh, the Devourer. So their guns, the guns they've got are called the Devourer. These things here. So they released these Tyranid Warriors. We also had the first, at this time they called them Hunter Slayers. These are what ultimately became the Termagants. So these were became Termagants a bit further down the line. So they released those.
The Tyranid battle squads look so derpy.
I think it's just the painting though, because they've sort of just painted the teeth like that. They look a bit.
Well,
odd.
the legs as well.
I've seen painting of them where they look quite cool though.
Well, the legs as well look so derpy.
You think they look derpy? Oh, I actually think these look better than the current Tyranid Warriors personally.
I don't even know what the Tyranid Warriors look like.
but you think they must look better than that, whatever. No, I think they look even worse now. But here we are. I hope they do. I hope with this new edition we do get some new Tyranid Warriors that look a little bit more better. Really. But here we are. So that's the Tyranid Warriors. They also released. So basically, it was three things.
Gene Stealers.
Well, you had the Termagants, the Tyranid Warriors, and then we had. Where is he? What was called back then the Screamer Killer. So the Screamer Killer is now called the Carnifex. And I believe we're getting a new version of him in the new edition. Yeah, that's pretty much what he does. But yeah, but the Screamer Killer is. I love this model. I think that model was great.
That's cool. The teeth still look derpy, but it's a pretty cool model.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool model. I like that model, and I hope the new one is a bit closer to that. But essentially, what they did for the Tyranid army range is at this stage they released 3 sets of models. So you had your Termagants, Tyranids, and Screamer Killer, and then they basically got all of the old Gene Stealer models and lumped them in with it, so you could deploy them with it. So you had these pure strength Gene Stealers. These are straight out of an old game called Space Hulk,
what's Hulk doing?
Not that sort of Hulk. Hulk like a ship. The Gene Stealer Patriarch. These were basically there was a range of Gene Stealers which were where Gene Stealers have infected humans. So you got like this guy is the lead guy. You got these guys, Brood Brothers. And you got Gene Stealer hybrids. The hybrids are basically half human, half Gene Stealer. But that range already existed, and they basically just co-opted them. And Squigs, they were out of the Orc range, so they basically nicked them from the Orc range and incorporated them with the Tyranids.
Why?
And these guys are Chaos Warriors. And or Chaos Space Marines, and they've just incorporated them directly into the range. So this issue, I mean, as you can see, it's very much focusing on Hero Quest and Space Crusade. So apart from the Tyranid side of it, most of this issue is devoted to new content for some old games. So they had 2 games called Hero Quest and Space Crusade. These were not made by Games Workshop. They were issued by MB Games. And they were more a bit simpler. This was basically my entry point to playing Games Workshop games. We were talking about something close to Matthew's heart because it was the first Games Workshop game he played,
Game. It was the first game I had over 7 PG.
So you were quite into it on the Xbox, weren't you, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you used to play it a lot. We both used to. You've got the box set, haven't you? You've got. Do you want to explain to the viewers what Blood Bowl is?
So it's American football combined with rugby tackling your enemies and killing them until they injure themselves so badly that they fall over and die.
Yeah, that is literally it. It is American football set in the fantasy universe. So, how does the game play then?
It's actually a pretty hard game.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing against these men, which I used to play against.
Dwarves.
Yeah, I used to play.
Oh no, you mean halflings, don't you?
Yeah, I used to play against the best team with the best team in the game versus them. They would stand a chance. The only good thing about them is they would get a tree man sometimes too, and they were quite easy to take down, but they would always use sturdy. It would really annoy me. And they would pretend Dad was one of my men. It would slowly go up to them, smack them across the face and bin, "You naughty boy." And what I would do is, I would risk my worst player. Usually it's this goblin which can throw bombs, but he always gets in trouble for throwing them, so he's pretty useless. So I just make him foul the tree man over and over again until the ref finally sees, and by then the tree man's injured, so he has to go off.
So how do you play the game? How does it work?
Grab ball, punch your opponents, maybe foul them on the way. Probably you get punched as well, but you might survive.
Yeah, in terms of the actual game itself, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but not really. So
You run across the pitch, possibly getting punched.
okay, so each player can move a certain distance.
Oh, now I know what you mean. So they can move a certain distance, like Dad said. There's a ball you pick up. You have to roll the dice at the start of the game. You get to choose heads or tails, and if you're against a bot, and if it's a player, it'll be randomly selected. I never played against any players. I have no friends. And the
You played against me with the ball game.
True.
Yeah.
I played against you in the thing as well.
Yeah.
And there's also a mobile version, but it's a bit broken. You can just be on both teams, and you can make one of the teams win.
Mm. So what do you do when you're fighting in it? Because you've got to get the ball.
So you roll.
Ultimately, the point is to get the ball into the.
That isn't what I ever did. I would always nog the ball. All I would do is punch my.
Yeah,
opponent.
but the point is to get it into the top zone of the other player. Because that's how you get points. Now you win games.
I would never do that.
No.
I would end up just punching them until they have no people left.
Blood Bowl is quite a good game as an entry level game. So I think it was quite good for us to play that as a board game. It was quite
hard.
Yeah, it's quite hard, but it was good to get you into rather than going straight to something like Warhammer 40,000, which is a bit more complex, a bit more to it.
I mean,
and you only need one team each, and pretty much everything is in the box that you would need to play with. Anyway, there we go. So that's quite good, wasn't it?
What do we say to the viewers?
What do we say to the viewers, Matthew?
Goodbye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye.